for me, with this experience, unfortunately, it's like with suicide, and this being my second experience losing a close loved one to suicide, I lost a friend of mine when I was 19 years old, and it was a very shattering experience for me because of the shock that comes with losing someone for the first time to suicide. It can bring up a lot of existential questions within those grieving. It can bring up a lot of like, how could this happen? What is the meaning of life if things like this happen? What am I, living for? Just really deep, these deep things that if we don't, for me, if I didn't get the support I got around grieving, I wouldn't have had any space to talk about these things, because obviously everyone grieves differently. Some of the people around me during that first loss when I was 19, they processed differently and they didn't want to talk about it, and that's their process. But for me, it's like I needed to create something. I needed to honor the friend I lost. And in this process with my cousin Karina, I kind of noticed that I approached the grief process a little differently. First time you lose someone to suicide, it's like a part of your heart like freezes over. You're like, how could this happen? It's so painful. And then it's almost like a part of you like expects that on some level again. It's a little bit of PTSD, but with Karina, it was like so tragic, and I knew immediately that I had to make art out of it, or I had to do something to process my feelings, because if I just stayed bottled up like a lot of the people around me maybe were attempting to do, because it's so touchy, I knew that I would spiral into my own depression. So for that process, I tried to do a lot of things to honor her memory and how I was feeling. I tried to really kind of ride the waves of grief that I was feeling and be with them rather than numb them. To the extent that I could, I tried to put pictures of Karina around my house on different altars and consciously spend time with her memory and what that meant to me. So I felt like because of my past experiences, I was able to kind of help some of my family members through their own shock with their grief, and to try and use our grief in as a productive way as possible, and to not avoid our feelings, and to take time and self-care. And self-care looks different for everyone. For me, it looks like a lot of inward time, a lot of meditation. Spiritual support is really helpful for me. Sometimes therapy is really helpful. Like, different things work for different people, but my whole purpose with the song and putting it out rather than keeping it to myself is to kind of be like, life has some really, really hard challenges, and we all experience it differently. I had a lot of challenges with my mental health in my early 20s, and it was really hard. And now I'm at another place in my life, and I just don't know how to this kind of experience is me helping to share my experience, and I know other people are going through things too, and just like, you're not alone. And even if you have no one to talk to about this right now, it's like, I see you even if I don't know you. I just want everyone to kind of decrease that stigma as much as possible around talking about the hard things, and talking about mental health, talking about grief and loss and suicide, and knowing that help is available no matter how hopeless you feel, because it really does leave this legacy for family and loved ones behind of like such intense pain that is hard to describe.